Okay, I thought we'd start today, and sometimes I like to just watch people paint, and so I thought maybe we could just do that this time. I have a couple pictures that or little images of cottages that I've put down yesterday, put down on some cards. Looks like I started on this one. Why don't I finish on this one, and then we'll start some of the others. And sometimes I enjoy just watching people paint, and it helps me learn. Everybody does things a little bit different, so I'm just going to go ahead and paint, and you're welcome to just see if there's anything that is interesting in how I do it to you. We can talk about our one of the videos that we need to do, and I kind of got ready to do one on bees one time, so maybe next time I can do one on bees with us. They're pretty fascinating. So this is an image that I really like gardens and flowers and all things growing. So this is an image I found on Pinterest last night as I was drawing some images to paint today, and I just think garden images are so charming. I also think I think they're called potager gardens, where they have herbs and vegetables, are charming also. I didn't think I wanted to go straight across for this roof, but I did want to give it a little more dimension than it had, and I'm trying to do that by adding just a little bit of depth to it with some color, a little bit of variegated color. Looks like the actual building might be kind of old cement or maybe old boards or something of that nature, and so I wanted it to have just a little bit of a different look than the roof, and so by adding a little more color to it, hopefully we'll succeed at doing that also. Now the door, if I remember, was just wooden. Definitely looked old, and so we'll add another touch to that. Now the one thing we have to do, I'm going to have to reach for a minute and get my paper towels. The one thing, oh no, I forgot. What was I going to say? Oh man. The one thing I have to do is let things dry. Grandpa's stolen my heat gun, so I don't have that right here at Access. Forgot about setting that up, so I don't really have a way to let them dry before we move on. So I think at this point I'm gonna have to call this one good until it dries a little more. So there were kind of some bushes in the front here, and I thought if I had the tops of them a little bit lighter, then we might be able to see that. I can't do that right now because the side of the bush is wet, and if I did, then it would just all blend together. So we're gonna have to put this one aside and let it kind of dry a little bit, and let's pick another one. Okay, it doesn't look like this one. I finished all of my ink on it, and for purposes like this, I do like to get it inked before painting. So I'm just going to add a little bit of the windows, give them a little bit of painting in it. Now the door looks like it's right here, but I didn't finish the door, so I'm going to put a little handle. I'm going to put a little bit of wood paneling on the door, or the appearance of it, just so it looks a little different than the rest of the house. It looks like I put a little fence in the front here, but we're probably going to need to put a a base on the house there so that we know where that ends. I do think I need to follow that roof line along there still, and I don't like all my lines to be perfect, so sometimes I'll come back in and just give them a little bit of a, this chimney looks like it's on an angle, which isn't bad, but the fence, I think I can put the fence in and come back and get that later. Looks like we've got some bushes here and maybe some here. And it looks a little bit like there might be some, we might put a rose bush going down there. So again, well, let's paint on this one until we are unable to give it color, because it will, we'll keep painting on it until the point that we need to let it dry before we can give any more color to it. I have, my card is dry. I have a little brush, triangle brush. Sometimes I like to use a little bit of a bigger brush on these backgrounds, but I don't like the card to get as wet right now as the bigger brush would be getting it. So I'm going to hold off on that and continue with this little brush. We're going to put in some little darker colors to let them bleed up into that bush. We can do it, we can help it bleed, or we can just give it a little bit of that. And the blue going into the green, no, the blue going into the yellow should end up creating a green for us, which is a color that we would like our bushes to be. Now I'm going to put a little bit of something down the front of this house too, just because our fence is back just a little bit. So that's about as much as I want to venture on the back of this, and it is awfully wet. I'm going to draw just a little bit of that moisture out with my brush. Okay, let's start on the roof. We're going to go with a kind of a slate colored roof, a little bit of brown, a little bit of blue. I didn't really want too dark of either. I've got dark of both of them now, but we can lighten that up as we go. And again, I'm still using quite a small brush. There's quite a bit of detail in these little houses or cottages, and so small brushes really match the size of space we're painting. So we're going to let that dry and see what we need to add to it after that. Let's go in and give our chimney a little bit of a maybe a brick look. I don't know if we succeeded there or not, but we can come back in and give a little bit of a gray after. This is a chimney pot. In England, on the top of the fireplaces, the chimney pots are quite tall. I think that adds a lot of charm to things. We'll just kind of let it be as is until we can come back. I'm going to start on the fence here, and I'm going to start with a blue. Actually, I want a blue, and I'm just going to come in with blue for right now, and then we can come back on top of it. I don't want it to be too solid of anything, really. But we just used brown and blue on the roof, and I don't really want it to be as dark as that. And so these little cottages, oftentimes little houses or cottages, if you will, I just like it to be a vignette. And a vignette means, what does a vignette mean? It isn't a complete piece of art that works out completely to the edges. The edges are kind of rough rather than distinct. So it's like a little view in time, a vignette. I'm going to have to look that up and tell you exactly what that means. But I'll do that later. Now this rock pathway, I find sometimes I like to bring in the mauve colors or some pale colors that wouldn't otherwise be in pathways, but are pale enough that they're not real strong colors. They just kind of give atmosphere. And that's just the pathway. I think we can extend it out just a little bit here. Sometimes I like the pathways up to the homes to be, rather than direct and straight, I kind of like a meander, a curvish line or angular line, but not just straight. So I think we're going to have to settle with this for right now on this one, and again let this one dry. So I'll trade out this one for another one that I started last night. Kind of got the same things going here. Looks like I didn't totally complete it. I've kind of got the idea, but you see I don't have the base for this little cottage. Let's give a little bit of paned windows again. And these panes are so small that I may not be able to distinguish them later, but the door, let's put just a little more paneling down here, I think. Looks like I put a little handle on it there. I'm going to give it just a little bit of framing. I've got, looks like I started a little bush here, and it looks like it's going to have roses coming up over the top. Give this a little bit of framing too. There. Looks like I did a little bit of a fence here. I don't know, we could maybe bring a fence around here just a little bit. I don't want it to come across, straight across the picture, so we've got some gentle curves going there. An interest. Okay, and that's about as much as I would want there. So let's go ahead and give this one a little bit of color. Now I know that it's the videos that aren't too long are easier to watch, and so I set up a timer, but it's on my other phone and it looks like it's gone to sleep, and I tapped it and it doesn't want to wake up. So I'm not sure how long I'm going here, but now I wanted to put some little window boxes here, and they're going to have to be quite dainty and small because you really can't see them. But so I'll go ahead and just put the greenery down for it. And then this green is really quite dark. I didn't know that I needed it so dark. I'm just going to stretch it out just a little bit here. I don't like things to be completely in lines, so we're trying to make them a little bit more gentle. I'm going to bring some of this color. So what I did is I tried to take some of this color from the bush because it was so intense there and spread it out just a little bit. So that's what I'm using for this greenery that's growing up around the roof, and I do think it's charming. A lot of English houses have rose bushes, climbing rose bushes. They come up the side, or oftentimes they're up by the door, and you'll see let's come back here. We'll see a little stem, or their stem, I guess it would be the stem of the rose bush. You kind of can see it on the side, and then the greenery starts up a little after that. So that's what we added right there. There's some shutters on this one. I think I'm gonna go ahead and use that same color for our shutters. It's kind of a brown with a little bit of purple in it. So it's quite a dark color, but it isn't just one color. Oh, if you get some purple in it, it's a little bit softer. Maybe I can use some of that on the fences. We'll see. Oh man, it's very, very dark still. Yeah, that's all right to do. I don't mind that at all. It's kind of a gentle color. We'll come back and bring in a different color on this fence, but that was a nice start. I'm watering it down just a little bit. Okay, so when I bring in the next color, we'll be able to see it. So the only thing I can see here on this one now still is we could add a little bit of coloring to these stones. We might be able to get, no, I don't think so, a little bit of roof edges, but we're gonna trade this one out now because it's wet and bring in the one we were just working on. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I don't know that that's quite dry yet. I'll bring in another one that I painted last night, or drew last night. Oh man, I got the same completeness on all of them. So we didn't anchor the buildings. This one might be a little bit, this is just kind of a little lean-to, and I'm not sure how much. Oh, I do want to have a flower box here in this one, so I'm gonna just put a little bit. I need a knob on the door. I'm gonna put a little indication of hinges here. It's not always necessary, and you don't always see them, but on these little cottage or even sometimes they're potting sheds, I do like to see the hinges a little more than if it was a house. I think that angle should go back just a little bit. So I'm not sure where we'll start on this, but we'll give it just a little bit of color like we did the others. I kind of want to bring a blue with this green. Just oh, that's pretty. Well, now it got into the more green, but let's just give that this color. I'm going to just give a little bit over here. Okay, I'm going to just bring some color down, even though we don't have it drawn on there. We're going to just create it. I'm also going to create the edge of, looks like a tree here. Down the side of the house, I think I'm going to add some greenery that's a little bit darker. Wasn't thinking about that dark, but we can work with that. I'm going to bring some up here, see if our tree can turn a little bit green with that blue there. Got a really lot of blue on that. There we go. Actually, I'm going to just bring our picture out just a little bit. I think we can put the roof on it, a little bit of the roof. So I'm pulling a little brown and a little purple here. It looks like it was brown and blue. I don't see purple in that. I thought it was the purple, but got next to it, that's the blue. Okay, and that's going to bleed in now. So it's kind of there by the tree, but so this may be about as far as we can go. I'm going to bring a little bit of beginning of color here. These are kind of, oh, they're kind of like shingles, but they're curved bottom. They don't look, it's just, the lines are just giving you a glimpse of it. They're not really following exactly as angled or curved as these shingles are. So I'm not sure I can add too much more. Got so much water going here. Add a little bit of, blade that out there. Okay, we'll let that just flow to where it wants to go, and then we'll come back when, I think I'm going to give a little bit of color to this lean-to. Not sure what that lean-to was, but I think if we just add the same color as the house, we're going to be fine there. All right, that one's quite wet. We're going to have to let it go. See if we can mix this blue in here so that it's a little less. There's a lot of water on here. I'm going to mop it up here. Same with right here, more water than I want. I'll mop it. Okay, that'll dry a lot faster with that water mopped up a little. All right. Okay, I'm going to stop the video right here, see what time it is, and then I'm going to try to perhaps come back and finish up these little cottages. I don't know how to start it up again, so maybe I will see if I can't go a little bit more on them. I'm going to give, this one has some shutters. I think I'm going to make them kind of blue. Oh, that might not be a good idea because it's the pitch of the windows up on top. The windows panes, usually I'll do them a blue, and so this blue may confuse us a little bit, but let's go ahead and let's give this house a little bit of a color. I know right off that's not the color I want the house to be, but washed out and with another color, I think it's going to be a really good color. So that's going to dry much lighter, and that actually is going to be very nice. I'm going to try to see if I can't get a little bit of the color and put it up in this. There. There's a line missing in those little eave windows, so I'm going to have to add that when the paint's dry. Okay, that's quite wet. We're going to have to trade off again. Good thing we have so many to trade off to. Okay, this one has some flowers in the front here. And I've added a couple colors to them, and they're all kind of bleeding in to look the same. So I mixed a little purple, a little pink, get us just a little different shade of the bloom. Now these over here, I started out making them red, not into the pinks, as they were different. I think I'll still continue with that idea, but it doesn't hurt to bring in just some contrast there. Now I'm missing, in my mind, I'm missing right here, I'm missing the frame around the door. So I'm going to bring it in with the color. Let's do this top here too. Now, it looks like it's quite an old, I think this actually is like a little potting shed. So I'm gonna see if I can give it a little bit of, oh, that's nice. Brought in a lot of water here because I wasn't sure that was the color that I exactly wanted the building. Now I'm going to have to pull out that water because it won't dry. Give a little bit of texture. We took our line out that we just put in. Let's put that line back in here. There we go. Okay, that gave us a little bit of a beginning on our little cottages. They're all still at varied degrees of being too wet to keep painting on. I did want to show you a couple things or remind you a couple things. I put my initials. See, I signed them so that I wouldn't forget. And this one, I didn't sign. It's kind of too wet for my hand to go over. So I'm just going to put it right here. See, that's a good thing, and then I don't have to try to remember that again. It's already on there, and I can finish the painting. Okay, guys, thanks for watching these. I hope there was something that was enjoyable for you to watch. Good luck painting, and we'll see you again. We'll do another one. Thanks. Love you guys.